For decades, changing your car's oil was one of the cheapest and simplest forms of maintenance. A quick trip to the mechanic, 20 or 30 bucks, and you were good for thousands of miles. But today, that simple routine has quietly transformed into a billion-dollar industry built on hidden fees, aggressive upselling, and a shocking level of corporate manipulation. What used to cost drivers pocket change can now drain $50, $70, or even $100 for the exact same service. And the worst part? Millions of Americans don't even realize they're being scammed. Behind every brightly lit dealership service bay and every limited-time offer coupon lies a carefully designed system meant to extract as much money as possible from car owners. Dealerships and large auto chains know that drivers are anxious about maintaining their vehicles. They use that anxiety to sell oil changes at inflated prices, bundle in unnecessary inspections, and trick people into believing only the dealer is qualified to service their car. The reality is, most of these markups have nothing to do with quality, they're pure profit. And it's working. According to recent industry estimates, Americans now spend billions every year on overpriced oil changes and related services. Some reports suggest dealerships make more profit from their service departments than from actually selling cars. That means every time you roll into the shop for a routine oil change, you're stepping straight into the core of their business strategy. But how did we get here? How did something as simple as draining old oil and refilling it with new become a scam that bleeds millions of drivers dry? To understand the full picture, we need to pull back the curtain on the dealership playbook, the sales tactics, the misinformation, and the corporate pressure that created this mess. Because this isn't just about a $50 oil change. It's about an entire system that thrives on keeping drivers in the dark. The modern oil change business model is built less on providing service and more on creating dependency. Dealerships and service chains understand one thing very well. Most drivers are not mechanics. They don't know the difference between synthetic and conventional oil. They don't know how often oil really needs to be changed. And they don't realize that many of the add-ons they're pressured into buying are completely unnecessary. This lack of knowledge is exactly what dealerships exploit. Here's how the scheme usually works. It starts with the illusion of trust. Dealerships position themselves as the official place for maintenance. They use the brand name on the building, Ford, Toyota, BMW, to make you believe only their service department can keep your car running safely. Then comes the upsell. You book a simple $29 oil change, but once you arrive, the service advisor starts stacking on extras. Suddenly you're told you need a premium synthetic blend, a cabin air filter replacement, a tire rotation, or a fuel system cleaning. What started as a cheap service quickly balloons into a $150 bill. The pressure is subtle but powerful. Service advisors are trained to highlight fear. If you don't replace this filter, your engine could suffer. If you don't rotate your tires, you're at risk. They know most drivers won't argue. After all, who wants to risk damaging their car over a few extra dollars? What customers don't realize is that many of these recommendations are either wildly overpriced or completely unnecessary at that moment. To make things worse, dealerships deliberately overstate how often you need an oil change. Modern cars, with advanced engines and synthetic oils, can often go 7,500 to 10,000 miles between changes. Yet, many service centers still push the old every 3,000 miles rule, a strategy that doubles or triples the number of visits they can bill each year. This is why the $50 oil change is more than just an inconvenience. It's a carefully engineered system designed to turn fear and trust into steady streams of profit. And dealerships aren't just casually doing this, they're trained, incentivized, and in some cases, outright pressured by corporate headquarters to keep those service revenues flowing. When you break it down, the numbers behind the so-called $50 oil change are shocking. A standard oil change, even using synthetic oil, rarely costs more than $20 to $30 in materials. A 5-quart jug of quality synthetic oil at a retail store can be bought for around $25. A basic oil filter, even a good brand, sells for $5 to $10. That's it. The labor to perform the job? For a trained mechanic, it's a 15-minute task. At most, you're looking at another $10 to $15 in labor cost. In total, a fair price should land somewhere between $35 and $45. So why are dealerships and service chains regularly charging $70, $80, or even over $100? The answer is simple. Service is where the profit margins hide. Automakers know that selling cars is a tough business. Margins on new vehicles are razor thin. But the dealership's service department? That's a gold mine. Once they've sold you a car, their goal is to keep you coming back for every small service, every maintenance reminder, every possible checkup. Oil changes are the foot in the door. a low-risk, repeatable service that gives them endless opportunities to upsell. And those upsells are where the money really flows. A $50 oil change often balloons to $150 once you've added synthetic upgrades, engine flushes, or brake inspections. The parts themselves are cheap, but the dealership charges outrageous markups. That $25 jug of synthetic oil, they'll sell you the same thing for $70. A $10 filter, marked up to $40. Even the labor rate is inflated. Some dealerships bill at $150 an hour for simple tasks that take minutes. Meanwhile, who's pocketing the difference? Not the mechanics. Many technicians are paid on a flat rate system, where they only earn for the exact job hours assigned, regardless of what you're charged. The real winners are the dealerships and, ultimately, the automakers' service networks. This is why dealerships push so aggressively for service appointments. It's not about your car's health, it's about keeping the cash flowing. In short, what should be a quick, affordable maintenance job has been turned into a high-margin scam. And the sad reality is, millions of drivers pay it every single day without even realizing it. The car industry has mastered the art of keeping drivers dependent on dealership service. It's not just about oil changes, it's about building a system where you feel like you have no choice but to return. And the truth is, much of this required maintenance is more about protecting profits than protecting your vehicle. Automakers design modern cars with increasing complexity. Engines are covered in plastic shrouds, oil filters are buried deep under sensors, and even the oil dipstick is being eliminated in some models. Why? Because the harder it is for you to service your own car, the more likely you are to bring it back to the dealership. It's not a coincidence, it's a calculated move. Then comes the warranty trap. Buyers are often led to believe that skipping dealership service could void their warranty. But here's the truth. In most regions, you legally do not have to go to a dealership for routine maintenance, as long as you keep records and use the right parts. Still, the fear is enough to push millions of drivers back into the dealer's waiting room, credit card in hand. The pricing game doesn't stop there. Dealerships rely on a tactic called the loss leader. They'll advertise a discount oil change at $39 to get you through the door. Once you're inside, the pressure starts. Your engine needs a flush. Your cabin filter is dirty. Your brake fluid is contaminated. 9 times out of 10, these add-ons are unnecessary or wildly overpriced. But drivers, not wanting to risk damage to their car, agree. And here's the hidden kicker. Manufacturers quietly recommend shorter service intervals than what's really necessary. Your manual might suggest an oil change every 5,000 miles, when modern synthetic oils easily last 7,500 to 10,000 miles. That's thousands of extra service visits across millions of cars, funneling billions back into the system. It's a cycle built on fear, complexity, and misinformation. And while drivers think they're protecting their cars, they're often just protecting the profit margins of dealerships and automakers. If there's one thing drivers need to understand, it's this: you have options. Dealerships and service chains count on fear and confusion. But the truth is, maintaining your car doesn't have to drain your wallet. The first step is knowledge. Your owner's manual is your best weapon. It tells you exactly what your car needs and when. Not a salesperson's recommendation, not a mechanic scare tactic, the manual. If it doesn't say your car needs a transmission flush every 20,000 miles, then you don't need one. Period. Second, learn to separate what's essential from what's upsell. Oil, filters, brake pads, tires, these are real. Engine flushes, fuel additives, constant fluid swaps? In most cases, unnecessary. Once you know the difference, you can say no with confidence. Third, consider independent mechanics. A trusted local shop will often charge half of what a dealership does, using the same quality parts. Many even offer longer warranties on their work because they rely on reputation, not volume. And for drivers willing to take one more step, basic DIY maintenance can save thousands over a car's lifetime. Changing an air filter takes 5 minutes. Swapping wiper blades is easier than changing a light bulb. Even oil changes, with a little patience, are manageable for many car owners. Another powerful tool is technology. There are now apps and diagnostic scanners that plug right into your car, telling you exactly what's wrong before you even set foot in a shop. No more relying on vague warnings like, "Something looks dirty." Data puts control back in your hands. Finally, remember this: dealerships need you more than you need them. Their entire business model relies on repeat visits. Once you realize you can step outside that system, you gain freedom. Freedom to save money, freedom to choose who touches your car, and freedom to drive without that nagging fear of being scammed. The $50 oil change scam is just one piece of a much bigger puzzle. But knowledge breaks the cycle. And once drivers understand the game, the auto industry's easy money machine begins to fall apart.